As I mentioned, we have 33 miniatures on the Imperial side, the pike and shot. We have Captain Heinrich von Sturm, a cavalry leader, mounted cavalry leader, as one figure. We have 15 pikemen and a sergeant. Hey Wargamers, Purple Druid here with another Wargame experiment. This latest one is a challenge from Dragons Beyond, who said, hey, why can't pike and shot era dudes fight against xenomorphs? So I thought, you know what, that would be fun. That would be a lot of fun. So I wrote up a little scenario, and I even wrote up a little booklet with more information and a short story and follow-on scenarios for Fistful of Lead, which is a generic system that allows you to really play anything. And I had a lot of fun putting this together, and I do have to apologize for putting Strategos on hold for this, but sometimes you have to strike when the iron is hot. So what I thought I would do with this short video is go through the scenario and the setup, and then in the next video we'll actually do the battle and see what happens. So as I mentioned, I wrote a little story, and basically what happens is these troops get ambushed in the dark by xenomorphs who have come through a rift in the woods from another world. And so what they have to do is fight them off and try to kill them all. If they can kill them all, then I have another scenario set up where a larger force will go through the rift and take the battle to the xenomorph homeworld. And if they can't, and the xenomorphs win, then more xenomorphs will come through the rift, and they will attack the Baron's manor. Now, both of those battles will be larger scale battles, using the massed combat rules you find in bigger battles, which is basically just a scaled up version of Fistful of Lead. And so what I've actually done is I kind of combined this a little bit, because these pikemen, they really don't work well when they're not in a unit. So we are going to use some unit rules for them. However, the figure scale is going to remain 1-to-1. And in the bigger battles, it's more like 1-to-40. So we'll go from there. But starting off, we have the setting. It is 1642, and deep in the Black Forest, an Imperial detachment of 33 soldiers has been dispatched to investigate reports of demonic creatures. Now, the terrain that we're going to be using is a 3-foot by 3-foot table, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit pause for a second. I'm going to put the terrain back and give you a good overview of what the table looks like. All right, so here you can see the full table arrangement, and what we have is a 3-foot by 3-foot area on the table here. This is a 3-foot by 6-foot table. I got a bunch of garbage on the other end, and it's heavily forested, so there's going to be lots of cover. We will call anyone who's on one of these bases for these trees, we will call that heavy cover. So if, for instance, there's a xenomorph there, he will be in heavy cover and hard to see. Otherwise, it'll just be a normal +1 anywhere outside of the area kind of delineated by those blocks. Now, that's a 12-inch by 12-inch clearing in the center. We have a small campfire here, which provides some light. As I said, dense forest surrounds the clearing. It is difficult terrain. It will half movement speed and provide light cover, -1 to hit for shooting. The rocky outcrops, which you see here, the various rocks, they will provide heavy cover, -2 to hit for shooting. And they are scattered around the edges of the clearing. Now, the xenomorphs can use the forest to their advantage, and that'll give them +1 to their stealth rolls. As I mentioned, we have 33 miniatures on the Imperial side, the pike and shot. We have Captain Heinrich von Sturm, a cavalry leader, mounted cavalry leader, as one figure. We have 15 pikemen and a sergeant. I'm hoping you can see that sergeant. I painted these guys up. These are Scottish Covenanters from Warlord Games. Epic pike and shot. The sergeant is right here. He's got a big floppy hat on. And then we have 15 arquebus, and a sergeant as well. And most of them have taken cover within the ruins of the chapel here. And the sergeant is right there. He also has a floppy hat. He's kind of tan colored though, so he might blend right in. Captain von Sturm, he is a skilled fighter. He's going to have combat +2 on horseback. He'll be able to move 8 inches. He carries a cavalry saber, which will give him +1 to combat rolls. He also has a pistol, range of 6 and 12 inches, 0 bonus to combat rolls, and 1 shot per reload. It will take 1 action to reload that gun. He is a leader. He'll get +1 to the die roll for any model within 12 inches and line of sight to recover from being shaken or wounded and down. As he's mounted, he'll gain +1 to close combat rolls, and he is determined. He will ignore shock and wound penalties in close combat. The pikeman sergeant gets a +1 to combat. He has a movement of 6. He carries a pike, +1 to combat rolls if fighting in formation, at least 3 pikemen within 2 inches of each other. Pikes have a 2-inch reach, allowing them to strike first in melee if charged. They also carry swords. He is also invulnerable. Once per turn, he may re-roll a failed rally roll, and all of the infantry are armored. They roll 8 to reduce their wound, 8+ on the D10 to reduce their wound effect by 1 level. And there is a special effect for the humans. After they kill a xenomorph in melee, they roll a d6 on a 1 or a 2. That pikeman will take a wound from acid splash, no save. And then the arquebusier sergeant, he again has combat +1, better aim and leadership. He has a movement of 6. He carries an arquebus, range of 9/18. 1 shot per reload, takes 1 action, and on a natural 1 to hit, the arquebus misfires and cannot be used for the rest of the game. He carries a sword. He has nerves of steel. He will ignore the first shaken result. And also, he can give a command. Once per turn, he can order his unit to volley fire, and all arquebusiers within 6 inches can fire as a single action, rolling to hit once, but adding +1 to the roll for each arquebus in the volley. Their special rule is that xenomorphs' speed makes them hard to hit, and the arquebus has a -1 penalty to hit unless the target is within 6 inches. So I think that will be interesting. Other special rules here. For the xenomorphs, we have 12 xenomorph warriors. They are all standard xenomorphs. They have no leader, and they operate as a hive mind. They are spread out all around the perimeter here. They count as veterans, so they'll roll a d12 in their combat for melee. They are quick. They get a +1 to their movement. They have claws and a tail. If a xenomorph wounds a model in melee, gets a 6 to 8 on the wounds chart, we're going to roll a d6, and on a 5+, that model is instantly killed, whether that means they're dragged off into the woods or impaled. A 5 will mean that the xenomorph drags that target back into the woods, and a 6 means that they're impaled. They have acid blood. After being killed, the xenomorph's acid blood splashes nearby enemies. Any model within 2 inches must roll a d6, and on a 1 or a 2, they take a wound. They are also armored on a roll of 8. That'll reduce their wound effect by 1 level. And they're slippery. They ignore the 1-inch rule for proximity and may leave close combat when they activate. Their special rules. They're stealthy, -1 to be hit if the target is shooting. So that way, if they're in the forest, they'll actually be at -2 to hit if they're in the light forest. And then in the heavy forest, -3. And if they're in the forest, they can attempt to hide. So we'll roll a d6 at the start of their activation. If they're in forest terrain on a 4+, they count as hidden and cannot be targeted by ranged attacks until they move or attack someone else. And the xenomorphs have a fearful presence. Any human model within 6 inches of a xenomorph must pass a coward test. They'll need to roll a 5+ on a d10 at the start of their activation, or they become shaken and cannot act this turn. Each model or unit must only check once per game. For the deployment, we have the Imperials. They will all deploy within the central clearing, within 6 inches of the ruined chapel. The pikemen can form 1 or 2 defensive lines around the campfire, and the arquebusiers can be positioned near the chapel for a better firing angle. Captain Heinrich starts near the chapel, ready to rally his troops, and the xenomorphs deploy at least 12 inches away from any human model emerging from the forest. The player controlling the xenomorphs may choose their positions to maximize stealth and ambushes. As mentioned, scenario special rules. Terrain effects. The forest will slow movement and provide cover, and the rocky outcrops will provide hard cover, as well as the chapel providing a defensive position. The battle takes place at night, so we have night conditions. Ranged attacks beyond 12 inches are a -1 to hit due to the poor visibility, unless the target is near the campfire, which illuminates a 6-inch radius. So basically, anyone in this area, if there's any xenomorphs in this area, they can be shot at without any sort of penalties. And victory conditions. The Imperial Detachment will get a major victory if they kill or drive off all of the xenomorphs, reducing them to 0 models on the table. They have a minor victory if they can survive 8 turns and have at least 10 models remaining, which means they hold the line long enough for reinforcements to arrive. And they will lose if the detachment is wiped out. The xenomorphs will have a major victory if they are able to kill or drag off all of the human models before the end of turn 8. They have a minor victory if they can kill Captain von Sturm and at least 20 other models, even if some of the models survive. And then they will lose if all of the xenomorphs are killed. So that's our little booklet. This booklet is available on the itch.io, and for those of you that are subscribers to Wargame Culture, you will get a newsletter post that has a link to this, as well as some more background information about this. Also, if you'd like to read the short story, that is up on wargameculture.substack.com. Just go in the archives and you can search fiction and that'll come up. That's actually my first short story that I have written. I hope you like it. And if you have any comments, I would love to hear about them. But this is the battle we're going to begin for the next video. And just as a quick reminder, the way that troops activate in Fistful of Lead is that you deal out cards to each player, and then you start with the highest card, which is the king, and goes down to the ace. With solo play, it is a bit of a cognitive load to try to manage 2 hands and figure out who's going to do what. Also, you have to figure out which models have already moved. Do you want to put a token on them or what have you? So what we are going to do is we will be dealing a card for each model or each unit. So what will happen is we'll deal the cards out like so. This pike unit and that pike unit will get their own cards, and so on and so forth. This is going to look really messy on the board, and people have commented about that before. So perhaps what I will do is put a little counter down next to each model or each unit, and then maybe I'll draw the cards and put them over on the side there. I'll have to move the image back a little bit, but I think we can put a little tracking area over here, and that way we'll know who's doing what and when, and we'll go from there. Of course, with Fistful of Lead, some of the cards are marked with special rules. So when this model activates, if they have a wound, they can heal it. If they're prone, they can stand. So if that xenomorph had been knocked down, they'd be able to stand up, and if they had a wound, they would be able to heal. And so that's it. That's how this is going to work. We'll just we'll go from there, and I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to this experimental battle. And once again, I would like to thank Dragons Beyond for planting the seed and encouraging me to put all this together. As always, thank you for watching. Have a great day, and keep on gaming.